DSLR versus mirrorless. What is a DSLR? What is a mirrorless camera? Let's start with the DSLR. The D stands for digital. The SLR stands for single lens reflex. So with film cameras, we'd call it an SLR, a single lens reflex. Now with digital cameras, we call it a digital single lens reflex. To understand what a single lens reflex is, let's first look at a twin lens reflex. Once upon a time, they had cameras that had two lenses, a lens on top and a lens below it, both built into the same camera. Here you can see one of those cameras. Now the top lens would go into a mirror which was angled and then would reflect up to a piece of frosted glass, and you could look through the top of the camera and see the image. The bottom lens actually took the photo, and the light would go through the bottom lens to the film, taking the photograph. So with the twin lens reflex, the top lens was what you viewed through using kind of a periscope type of deal with a mirror and a piece of frosted glass, and then the bottom lens actually took the photograph. Now somebody came up with the idea, what if we put that mirror in front of the lens and we use one lens instead of two, a single lens instead of a twin lens reflex, and if we put that mirror in front of the film, and when we took the picture, it would have a mechanism that would flip it up so it'd be out of the way, it could take the picture, and then it would flip back down after taking the picture so we could look through the lens again. So the mirror in an SLR is angled to reflect the light up to a piece of frosted glass, and then there's a mirror above that that reflects it out through the viewfinder. It works kind of like a periscope in a submarine. So this was a big advancement in photography, the fact you didn't have to have two lenses, and also with the top and the bottom one, you got something called parallax, two parallel views that weren't quite, exactly what they should have been. It was off by just a little bit with the height. And so having a single lens where you had the mirror in front of the lens, flips out of the way to take the picture, comes back down, was an advancement for photography. So that created the single lens reflex. Here we are taking the lens off a digital SLR, and you can see the mirror behind the lens. Pressing the picture taking button in the mirror up mode, you can see the mirror flip up to reveal the shutter. Pressing the button again, the mirror flips back down. Here we have the camera set for a half-second exposure to show how the mirror flips up and the shutter opens to reveal the image sensor and take the photograph, and then closes again. Here you can see a faster exposure which shows how this happens very quickly, the mirror flipping up, the shutter opening up, the shutter closing, and the mirror flipping back down. As we tilt the camera back, you can see the frosted glass above the mirror that the mirror reflects the image onto. There's also a mirror above this glass that's angled to reflect the light from the frosted glass out the viewfinder so you can see the image. Now, when cameras went from film to digital, they became a little bit smaller because you no longer needed room for the film canister, and then also for the take-up roll for the film. So that was able to be eliminated in a digital camera because we no longer needed space, for the film. With digital, we have electronic images and electronic imaging, so the next advancement was to take the mirror out of the camera to be able to see directly through the lens without having to have the mirror in there. So we took out that space that was needed for the mirror and the mechanism to flip it up and down, which actually can make a little bit of vibration when it goes up and down and can also make a little bit of noise. So in this photo, you can see a digital SLR in the top photo and a mirrorless camera in the bottom photo, and you can see the mirrorless camera is able to be much smaller because it doesn't need the mirror. Now some mirrorless cameras will have a flat top and others will still have a pentaprism. Both of them work very well. So taking out the mirror can make the camera body a little bit smaller, and it also allows you to see the exposure in real time. So with a mirrorless camera, basically they took the mirror out. And now we can see directly through the lens, and the biggest advantage there is being able to see not only the subject, but the exposure in real time. With the DSLR, you can see the subject, but you can't see the exposure. With a mirrorless camera, it uses the digital technology to both show you the subject and the exposure at the same time. So there was an advancement going from film to digital. Now there's an advancement going from mirrored cameras to mirrorless. So in our next video, we're going to talk about 10 advantages that a mirrorless camera has over a digital SLR. We hope you've enjoyed these photography tips. If you'd like help getting started with your digital camera, you may want to check out our Top 10 Digital Camera Settings worksheet. Looking at your digital camera, there are lots of buttons and symbols and settings which can be confusing. Our Top 10 Digital Camera Settings worksheet will help you learn where these settings are on your camera and the buttons and dials you must use to set them. This worksheet is a great way to get started learning your digital camera. Being able to look at your digital camera and know what the different settings are and how to set them is a great feeling. Knowledge is always your best camera accessory. Download the Top 10 Digital Camera Settings worksheet at easyphotoclass.com to start learning your digital camera settings today. To go to our website, click on our logo at the top of the page for great photography downloads and workshops. To subscribe to our channel, click on our logo in the lower left to enjoy more great photography videos. You can also click on the video image in the lower right to enjoy our next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk with you soon.